People that married early between 2025. How has it impacted your life? Do you regret it or was it the best decision you ever made? We got married when we were 18. It's been 20 years, and we've had a few rough patches, but I only have one regret. I'm almost 40, and I've never lived alone. I feel like we both missed out on an important part of growing up by not having that experience. If it makes you feel better, it's rare young people can afford to live alone these days. You just missed out on shady Craigslist roommates. My husband and I got married when we were both 23. We had already been living together for years, had combined finances, etc. So we had basically been married beforehand anyway. We went to the courthouse and got married by a justice of the peace. Then we went back to our apartment and back to our lives. Literally nothing changed, lol. We're still very happy and own a home now with 2 dogs. So I'd say it worked out for us so far. Our 4th wedding anniversary will be in January. Happy for you guys. That sounds really chill. I have one friend who married his high school sweetheart when they were 18. They have 3 children and seem very happy and content. He is always talking about how much he loves his wife. I have another friend who married his college girlfriend once he graduated and hit 21. They moved to California and only lasted 2 years before he found out she was cheating on him. He has said numerous times that it was one of the biggest mistakes he has ever made. I guess it all depends on you and the other person. Thanks for this. I was 25. She was 23. It's been 10 years that we formed a couple and 6 years married. She's currently on the PC. And I'm watching over our 7-month-old baby. Pretty good decision to marry her. Congrats on your baby and many more happy years to you guys. I'm interested to read more responses. My older stepdaughter and her boyfriend who have dated for 6 years are bent on getting married, both just turning 20. He talks about quitting his job every day and she's never had a job. Whenever they bring it up I try and explain to them they both need to take this time to grow up, enjoy life and build up their finances so when they do get married and immediately have kids as they planned they won't regret it. But when you're in your 20s you know everything. We were 23 and 24 when we married. We had been together for 3 years then. But that was 12 years ago. Currently we are sipping coffee together while he plays a game and I browse Reddit. He is hands down the best decision of my life. That being said, it wasn't easy especially in the beginning. It's been a lot of hard work and raw emotion getting to where we are today. We agree that age range is a bit young and somewhat foolish to decide to marry, though sometimes it works. There's so much growth that takes place between 20-30. We were fortunate to grow together instead of apart. Wholesome. Thanks. So not me but my friend got married at 18. He's 21 and turns 22 in a week. He's currently getting a divorce because his wife has been cheating on him for over a year with a drug dealer who is her sugar daddy. I'm not making this crap up. So probably one of his worst decisions in life. Technically, getting married young wasn't his mistake. It was the person he decided to marry. It was the worst decision I ever made, and I do regret it. We got divorced. Just don't be in such a rush. You can always get married a little later. I just don't plan on getting married at all. I believe in committed relationships, but people can change and or situations can change. 1 year down the line, 10 years, etc. And the end will usually suck. But complicating it even more with divorce proceedings just seems like a good thing to avoid. It was stupid. Wish I hadn't. I regret it to this day. Wrecked my life. She's got psychological problems and decided to ditch me a couple of months after marriage. Sucks. Sorry to hear that. Best decision of my life. I was 21. She was 20. We're mid-50s now and still happily together. 3 kids, 5 grandkids, and we're blessed with, or fortunate to have enough health to enjoy them all. The way I see it, I married someone way too good for me, but she doesn't seem to realize it. SHHHHJ. Please don't tell her. I've got a great thing going here. Hahaha. This is wholesome. I bet she says the same thing about you behind your back semicolon. We were both only 17 yo. Both had quit high school. Ever since I was 16. I had a job, car and a rented mobile home. 1 ST kid at 18. 2 ND at 19. And The 3RD at 23. This past October we celebrated our 38th wedding anniversary. It was the best decision I ever made, although one I would not recommend anyone trying today. Married at 23, divorced 7 years later. We were similar people when we got married. Not so much 7 years later. I don't think people really know who they are that young and likely haven't found their passions. Some people that get married young get lucky and they both grow in the same direction and end up with the same life goals. But most don't, and end up divorced. Side note, been married for a while now. Very happy now that I have someone in my life with the same goals and passions. Sounds like my story. I met him when I was 19. Got married at 22. Married about 6-7 years when we decided to separate. Nothing bad happened between us, but we were both vastly different people towards the end and we hadn't grown in the same direction. Have an awesome kid together, so I can't say I regret it. It made me who I am and I'm still happy where I am in life RN. We were high school sweethearts, married at 21 and 23, just celebrated our 34th year of a wonderful life together. I don't think our age had anything to do with our success. It was our kindness, love, working together as a team. It is still a positive frame of mind and enjoyment of each other. I got married at 25. It lasted 10 years or so. I can't regret it, because it produced the best daughter a guy could ever want. That alone makes me a man wealthy beyond measure. No regrets. I met him at 19 in 1978. Just a couple weeks after having a heart-to-heart with myself about what kind of guy would be really good for me. The person who would naturally give me what I needed and also be one I desired. It was funny that he showed up that quickly. And I actually refused to go out at first because he was just passing through. I very much did not want a one-night stand. But he persisted and came back every weekend to see me. How can you not take that kind of dedication as meaningful? His love helped me so much. Even if I would not choose the same kind of person today, it is because I don't need the same kind of person because of who he was. You don't need a doctor after you are healed. But I still love him because he is still a great guy. We still fit. I haven't met a single person I would rather have with me. I don't think there will ever be anyone else even if I lost him tomorrow. He filled me up. Happy for you guys. That's awesome. And yes, he did fill you up. Got married when we were both 25. Just had our 26th wedding anniversary. She is awesome and I'm dang lucky to have found her. I was 22, but my husband was 28. He's definitely one of the good ones. It's been 10 years, and he's still my best friend. However, I wouldn't recommend getting married young, or at all, if you aren't committed to communicating through the hard times and fighting for your marriage, because the hard times will come. I married him at 19, with the intention of starting my own family life ASAP and get away from my own family. He was handsome, intelligent, funny, irresistible in his military uniform. When he asked me to marry him, I said yes without a slight of hesitation. I had no family and friends to even consult about this decision, which turned out to be a huge failure. It was followed by 3 years of gaslighting, cheating, physical and emotional abuse. I don't regret the early marriage perhaps because it made me realize how much work I needed on myself. I have almost the exact same story. I married him at 19 and he was 20, except I was in the military and he went to basic later that year. We lasted about 3 years. So much gaslighting and emotional abuse. Whenever my friends talk about the military guys they are dating I am super skeptical. I regret it but I would do it again simply because I learned so much about myself. I was 24 so at the top end of your spectrum but yes, in all honesty, I regret it. I am a completely different person now with new ideas, new goals, new views on marriage itself. I didn't give myself enough time to find myself even though I had lived on my own for 6 years at the time. I wish I had waited until at least 30 or never gotten married at all. This is stuff my husband knows. We've talked about it a lot. It's not about him at all. It's about how I've changed. He hasn't changed along with me. I mean, he has changed, of course, been married 17 years, but not in the same ways I have. That isn't a criticism of him at all, just the way it is. I was 17 and he was 20 when we got married. I had always been sheltered by my parents, so didn't know how to make such life choice. I definitely married the wrong person. I thought I loved him but didn't really know what love was or what to expect. We were married for 4 years when I called it off. I just couldn't take any more of his controlling crap. I married my parents, so to speak. Yes, 110% regret and would not recommend. Looking back now, I was trying to fulfill unmet childhood wounds marrying someone instead of doing the work on myself. We moved in together when I was 19, she was 17. Got married 7 years later and are still very happy after 3 kids and 34 years together. Wholesome. Congrats. I was with my husband at age 16. We got married at 20. We split up when I was 30. I don't regret it. We had a good 10 years of love that were actually nearly perfect. But then he got into H. That sucks the soul out of people. Say no to drugs, everyone. Best. Second best was to not have kids. But it wasn't the early part that was or is important. The important question is this the right person to spend the rest of your life with? If you have any reservations, it's not the right time for you. My brother got married when he was 19 and she was 22, and it's been a train wreck for 26 years, but he's too apathetic lazy to change anything. I married a 33-year-old MILF when I was 24 after meeting 2 years previously. I don't regret it, but I definitely wouldn't have done it if I were a bit more mature. I missed a lot of red flags, or just didn't care. I raised her boys and once they were out of the house concluded our relationship was over. I would not spend the rest of my life with her. I was 35. Dated around a couple years, then met the woman I did want to grow old with. Thankfully, I'm so glad I found her. Started dating at 19. Married at 24. Divorced at 39. I don't know. Both she and I are in much better places now. I'd say it was a learning experience, but it was also an experience. I don't regret my relationship with her. I regret how much we both let it drag on during some really passionless and tense years at the end. The last 7 years of our marriage we were basically roommates. We got married at 24/23. We had been together 7/8 years at that point. We will hit 23 years together in February. I made plenty of questionable choices in my life. I can proudly say that she was not one of them. She is by far the best thing that ever happened to me. I help her be more spontaneous and she helps calm down my crazy. We have lived in 15 or so different states around the USA. We've been rich and poor, but no matter where we were or how we were doing financially, I've never once thought my life would be better without her. I know as much as I can know anything that life without her would absolutely suck. I got married at 23. It didn't work out in the end, but it led to the birth of my awesome daughter. So absolutely no regrets. I got married to my college sweetheart when I was 22, turning 23 at the end of the month. Been married 12.5 years and our 3-year-old is chilling in my lap while my hubby is doing some basic tidying up. It's worked out pretty well for us. Not saying each and every day is roses and sunshine, but we love one another, work on our issues, and are fully committed to our family. I do not regret it. Neither was it the best decision ever. Started dating at 20, married at 23, and went our separate ways at 27. We were great for each other for a time, but neither of us was at a point in our lives where we should have been considering an ever after. Our whole marriage was spent poor and in grad school, and neither one of us knew what careers we were looking at, where we'd want to live, etc. We just assumed that love would find a way, and it didn't. And ultimately we discovered what we wanted out of a relationship, and life was different. Won't lie, divorce was the hardest thing I've gone through, but would have been true of a breakup after that long if we hadn't been married anyway. You do a lot of growing in your 20s, and marriage can be a great decision for you, or it can burn you. But marriage isn't an end all, and although it's a pain logistically, you can always divorce. So if you are fairly certain you want to marry someone, don't let age hold you back. Just be realistic and know that some differences that may happen from growth and discovery can't be reconciled. And that's okay. Doesn't mean either of you is wrong or that you failed. We got married at 19 and 20. Almost 13 years married, I don't regret anything. We lived together for almost a year beforehand, which I think helped get past a lot of those early hiccups figuring out each other's rhythm. We are best friends and from the start have put priority on communication, balance and compromise. Not everything has been smooth, but we have made it through so much and still love each other more than ever. Started dating at 18, engaged at 19, married at 22, separated at 30, divorced at 32. Absolute train wreck of a decision. When you're that age, you're old enough to know some things, which makes you confident enough to think that you know a lot of things. Plenty of people cautioned us that we were pretty young to be making that commitment, which emboldened me even more to do it, because I was an adult and could make my own decisions. Damn it. Turns out, I didn't know enough about myself, or him, or how we'd grow and change to foresee what our future was going to be like. Ultimately, we were just unhealthy for each other. I don't regret it, though. I needed to go through that experience to end up where I am now, and it really helped me learn who I am. I think it has more to do with the kind of person they are rather than the age. I don't regret getting married at 25. I do have regrets to who I married. Got married at 23. In hindsight, we were both too emotionally immature and outgrew each other. Well, he grew into an butthole and I grew a bigger backbone into a divorce court. That ended up being the best decision I ever made. Now we're both happy in our own new lives, so I guess it all worked out in the end. She was 21. I was 26. We've been married 20 years. If I had to do it over again, I would never get married. People change, and sometimes not for the better. I was 23. I've been divorced for 8 years. I wish it would have worked, but he had more growing he needed to do. He regrets our divorce now. Got married at 24 and divorced at 30. Remarried now in a much healthier relationship. I got 2 great kids out of it, so I wouldn't take it back. Still not a good experience though. We were 21 and 23. Sometimes I terrify myself when I stop to think how unlikely it was that we got it right. I don't mean that we managed to create a good marriage even from that age. I mean that both of us were much more likely at that stage to simply walk away from something that seemed like it was too big. I had pretty much never made a good decision in my life. At that point, what are the chances that the one thing I got right was the thing that turned out to be the most important one of them all? 28 years later and still madly in love, those odds still scare the heck out of me. Married at 19, divorced at 22. It was a wild ride of emotional and physical abuse. I was definitely too young and naive to notice the warning signs and too proud secretive to open up about what I was experiencing with the adults around me. My parents, however, married at 19, mom, 20, dad, and are going strong 34 years later. I think that having them as an example created a delusion that it was probable that I would find my soulmate at that age, but the truth is that true love is a constant work in progress, requires a lot of maturity, humility, and consideration of a partner's needs and feelings on both sides, and for most people it takes a while to build up to that level of emotional adulthood. If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to turn around and leave, but younger me probably wouldn't listen to myself because I thought I had everything right. I became a shell of myself for 3 years and alienated myself from friends and family. I am only glad that they were there for me when I decided I had had enough. Not everyone else is so lucky. My advice would be to tread carefully and be honest with yourself, whatever the truth might be. My husband and I married when I was 22 and he was 25. It was only just over a year and a half ago, but well, we're still going strong. I definitely don't think we were too young, even if, heaven forbid, something did go wrong. I wouldn't blame our ages for it. I don't really think 22 is young to get married. I was an adult and knew what I wanted out of life and marriage. That's beautiful. I wish you all a happy married life. Congrats. I was 24. I don't consider that young, but maybe on the younger side. We've been through a lot. Recessions, layoffs, twins, death of parents, growing careers, and sadly a cancer battle and death of our 11-year-old son. These things are stressful and you either grow from them together or you grow apart. We grew together so it worked out for us. I feel just as much in love as the day we got married, butterflies and all. I couldn't have made it this far without him. I'm sorry for your loss. Cancer sucks. My sister got married at 17 to get out of the house. Been happily married for about 30 years. Have a 15-year-old son they are quite proud of. We got married when I was 22, she was 23. Have been together for 41 years. 2 kids in their 30s. Best decision I've made. That is so sweet. Many more years to you and your love. I got married at 19. Divorced 2 years later. I 99.9% regret it. I think people can get married early and it can work out. It just didn't work out for me because my ex-husband wasn't the right person for me, and turns out I am not the married type. I was a stupid scared kid who felt the need to latch onto the first stable thing in my life. Once I grew out of that, it was easy to move on. The only thing that sucks is how broken my ex-husband still is. It's been almost 3 years and he is still sad sack of misery. But he was always a sad sack of misery, so it isn't my fault. The way it impacted my life, welp, I realized marriage is kind of meaningless to me. If there is someone I love, I would rather make the choice to stay every day rather than sign a contract and be forced into it. But that's how my brain works. Others love the idea and it enhances their relationship. I am happy I leaned how I feel about marriage early and with someone I don't mind never seeing again. I was able to easily get a divorce. With no kids or assets, it only took 2 months for the state to finish it off. Had I realized this later on in life, it probably would have been way messier. Marriage just isn't for me. I got married at 20 and now 4 years later my wife and I are still very happy. We own a business and just bought a half section of land so we can start raising cattle. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.